story of the day, Pete Alonso. He's back in Flushing. Let me know in the chat how you are feeling about that. Pete is back. The first baseman who is second since 2019, or second since 2019 in home runs in the major leagues overall behind Aaron Judge, and only 6 behind him, which if you really think about that, that's pretty crazy. Just signed his 2-year, $54 million contract with the New York Mets, much less than what he was offered originally, but we will get into that in a moment. Though there are some positives to this contract that I think a lot of people might be overlooking because they are seeing the potential loss of $100 million, which that hurts my heart a little bit too, being a ex-locker mate of Pete Alonso. Yeah, I really wanted to see him get his due. But it is front-loaded, which is nice. He's getting $30 million upfront, not as a bonus, but you know what I mean, in the first year with an opt-out in between. So he can make a decision if he has a more favorable market, or he can just keep being who he's supposed to be and being a New York Met, which I know he is okay with that. He would be fine playing with the New York Mets for the rest of his career. He really would. He said that to me. He's like, oh, yeah, why not, right? So the second year is going to be $24 million with an opt-out in the middle. Smart to get your money up front, get it in the first year, the first one guaranteed, so that way when you make the decision, you can factor that in later and go from there. Now, I thought he was going to get a third year with another opt-out for himself. I think that's what the sticking point was. They wanted that third year. They wanted that Blake Snell deal. And they just weren't willing to do it because it's kind of risky to be on the hook. To give a player 2 opportunities to back out of your future plans is non-starter, especially with Stearns, which makes a lot of sense to me. I bet you they avoid the 2 opt-out structure a lot moving forward with him as the GM because it's just too many question marks attached to your team moving forward past that first one. Like, you want to be able to project what you're going to have in 3 years, and it's very hard to do that when you have a few high-value individuals doing that on your team. It makes it kind of hard to keep track of. Now, did he deserve to have a reduced offer? Let's talk a little bit about that. Here's the thing with first baseman. When a first baseman goes into free agency, they don't want to be 30. Or on the bad side of 30, which is the side I'm on and the side Pete is now on. You don't want to be a right-handed only. They would love you to be a left-handed stick, because that way you can become a platoon option or a platoon for DHing. Being a right-handed stick isn't a great platoon option because most players are right-handed. So the right-handed platoon guy usually plays less than the left-handed platoon guy. So that's usually what happens to first basemen as they age. That is not going to be as easy to do with Pete. I understand that. There was also a couple red flags in his final year. Now, he's been remarkably consistent his whole career in terms of power, exit velocities, launch angle. Basically, all the metrics that analytics teams look at that want to project home runs, he has done well, except a couple little things this year. And unanimously, kind of around the league, evaluators will tell you first basemen tend to age worse than most other positions. Meaning the decline is swift, and it's usually pretty jarring, and it's just inherent risk that's going to be attached to those people. And then once you see a couple of the things start to happen, you get really scared, which I think is what happened this offseason. So the big thing for me is, halfway through the year, his exit velo was way down. It actually jumped back up to, he ended the year with it 0.3 miles an hour harder than it was in 2023. So that's not a big deal to me. The big problem was he had the lowest home run total in his career, which is 34, which is crazy. But his launch angle dropped 4.5%. That's the big red flag. He was still hitting the ball pretty hard, not quite as hard as he normally does, but still pretty hard, but he was hitting it into the ground. And when guys start to get really ground ball heavy and don't find the ability to barrel the ball as well, that is when you see a little bit of decline. But the real big drop off was only launch angle. Everything else was pretty close. He's average in strikeouts. He's slightly above average in barrels. Or no, he's way up in barrels. He barrels crazy amounts of balls. But sweet spot, he's never been high in that category. So I don't really know where all this fear is coming from. Like at the level it's at, I think he should have gotten a multi-year deal. I don't know why no one would want this guy as their first baseman, but I think he just has this reputation as being not great defensively and only a hit tool. And if his hit tool goes away, he's not going to be a very good player. And I just don't agree with that. I think that I think he's better. I think he's better defensively than people give him. Like I believe last year he was the best. He had the best metrics around picks at first, like picking the ball out of the dirt, which is pretty good. So. I think it's a little bit unfounded. I think that the people or the teams that are having a lot of fear associated with this guy, I think they're overplaying it just slightly. Maybe I think he's better than he's been giving credit for, and I think staying home is probably going to be the best option for Pete moving forward. So congratulations, Pete. That's out of the way, and just like we talked about last week, we knew he wanted to be done with this negotiation thing so he could go to spring training, and now we're here. And now we're here. We got actually a good question from the chat here, which related, which I will throw right here up here. Is launch angle something you can see Pete improving on, or it's set in it? Set in is that it, or is it set and that's it? No, I think that's something you improve on. I just think that comes with a. Launch angle is affected by a couple things, but it probably is a bigger factor because his bat speed was still really fast. Like there's a lot of things that aren't metrically attached to his swing changing, which would be a big red flag. If his swing had changed a lot, flattened out, or he's swinging at some pitches he never swung at before. But even like the swing itself, he's still hitting the same pitches, but they're going in the ground as opposed to being barrels. That would concern me. That's not what happened. I think what's changed is how he's being pitched. He's getting hit with a lot more stuff running down and into him, which he's hit really hard in the past, but it was slower breaking balls and stuff, and he just hit those on the ground. So he still hit them hard. He was just hitting hard ground balls. He just hit more of those. He was topping balls a lot more, which might be a factor of the increased use of splitters around the league. He is susceptible to those. I knew that when I faced him in 2018. So he might be getting more of that, and that's just an adjustment he needs to make. But I think this is all adjustable. He can adjust to a lot of these things, and he's not in danger of being, of this being a long-term problem, in my opinion. I think that he'll be just fine in that area. All right. So in our first news story, surprise, Kiké Hernandez, Kiké, is a Dodger for the fourth time. He's been traded for twice, and he signed as a free agent twice. After starting with them, he is there again. The man who has a career slash line in the regular season of 238, 308, and 405, but in the playoffs, 278, 253, 522, is back with the Doyers, who are, I don't think there are many guarantees in baseball, but one guarantee is the Doyers are going to be in the playoffs once again. After signing pretty much everyone that they said they would sign, plus a couple random other guys that we didn't know about beforehand, picking up Kiké Hernandez. He is a very good athlete. He can play anywhere on the field. He's going to fill in their super utility role like he always does, and it's just a good pickup. So I like it. The Dodgers signed another guy. I know this is what our news is every week, but guess what? Spring training's starting, so we can talk about other stuff soon, and I cannot wait. So we're going to move on. Speaking of people we won't stop talking about, the only guy left on the board is Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman, now that Pete Alonso has left the board, he is the only corner power guy left without a home. Alex has chosen to not have a team going into spring training. But that's his decision to make. Now, on the three top choices, and this is from Bob Nightingale yesterday, which I believe yesterday was Saturday. But Bob Nightingale, Bob Nightingale said the top 3 teams left in on Bregman are the Cubs, the Tigers, and then the Astros. If you remember, the Astros had a 6-year, $156 million offer out to Bregman in November, which he turned down to test the market. I would say at this point, you should take that. I would take that. I understand that would mean teams won, but sometimes the teams win. The Tigers, the Red Sox have also made an offer, but they're all about 4 years or 3 years. There's a couple 3-year deals out there, the Cubs, including the 3-year deal. So I think it's just going to come down to balancing what team you want to be on, how many years you want, because I bet you the AAVs are all pretty close. So according to multiple reports, though, Houston has increased the offer and has been on the table for much of the winter. So they've increased the offer. We don't know by how much, but they're still pretty pessimistic that it's going to happen. So if not the Astros, who are offering the only one offering 6 years, or that secret one that we talked about a couple weeks ago or last week, he's going to get less years. So if he doesn't sign with the Astros, I'd be surprised at this point. But it would be for less money. And I think that the whole less money thing won't have if you do a 6-year deal, you're not going to get the opt-outs to get more money later or test the market again, which is probably a sticking point again. Same thing with Pete Alonso. It's the opt-outs that are not great. So I have a question here. Why not the Red Sox? If you could answer that real quick. It could be the Red Sox. The problem is they're moving pieces around. He would probably have to play second base there, or he would play third and they would move. Rafi, they have to move things around, and it's a 4-year deal. So, you have to balance money and then number of years and where you want to be. And if the years aren't there, you need opt-outs to make up for the lack of years. That's the problem, right? And Houston probably has the lowest AAV, meaning annual something value. I can't remember the second A means, but basically the yearly value of the contract. So, whatever. Do you think Comerica Park is a problem for Bregman? I don't. If he's worried about being able to pull homers, every park's gonna be a problem for him because the Crawford boxes are a joke. But that's how the stadium's built. He took advantage of it, and I got to tip the cap. Guys just can't decide where they want to hit the ball like that. You have to be really good to do that. He is very, very good. Will it diminish his ability to hit home runs? Probably, but there are worse places. Baltimore, which he actually went yard in last year, which is crazy. And they have Isaac, and the guy they got, Isaac Paredes, he is even better at hitting into the Crawford boxes. So Comerica, maybe not. I don't know if that's a big problem. It does get cold there. The Tigers are an interesting place. It is a little bit harder for them to get people to come because of their kind of fluctuations the last few years. But if they're good every year, then why not? But I think that there's not a lot of parks or not a lot of teams available right now or on the table right now for him that will be advantageous to a pull-happy home run guy. So Baltimore is moving the left field fences back in. They are, but not a lot, not all the way back to where they were, halfway back in. So, yeah, Comerica's not great, but it's worse actually to right center. So lefties are struggle a little bit more there. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Comerica's a tough place to hit generally. So I get it. But again, if you don't have opt-outs, it's like Javi. Javi's I'm just going to sign my deal, and if it doesn't work out, I can't hit her, then I made a bunch of money. It's one of those things you got to get a big deal, or you got to get the ability to test the market again at some point. And I think that's what's happening. He's flip-flopping between balancing. He's got different types of deals out there, and it's hard to make the decision, but he's got to make the decision quick, because the longer he waits, the harder it is for him to get ready to go play in a major league game quickly and then put up again this year. So if it's going to be one of those 1-year kind of bridge deals or a pillow deal, then he's got to get going. He's got to make a decision like yesterday. So we'll see what happens with Alex Bregman. Look at this blurry picture. This here is Anthony Rendon. A lot of you guys may know him. He is up on the screen right now because Yoan Moncada signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Los Angeles Angels, the same Los Angeles Angels that employ this man, Anthony Rendon, as their third baseman. He has been slated to start at third base for them, putting Anthony on the bench for the first time in his career. Now, one interesting thing about this, and a lot of this is like, haha, people are like, oh, Anthony's not living up his contract, whatever. Yoan Moncada might be the only person in the game that's hurt just as much as Anthony Rendon, dude. So, there's a really good chance neither one of them are going to play that much third base. But as of right now, with 2 years and $77.5 million left on his contract, Anthony Rendon is not going to be the starter. But you know what? Anthony got his money. Anthony is a freak athlete. I know Anthony personally. I feel for Angels fans and how they feel about it. But I mean, I just can't I don't know how you force yourself to get jazzed. You know what I mean? And even with that amount of money on the table, it's one of those things no person would just give it back, right? Nobody would do that. Why would you do that? So can't really fault him. I just wish he was healthy more. And it was always fun playing against him and watching him. But that said, yeah, it's a tough look. It's a tough look when you get replaced by a guy who also averages 55 games a year. But we'll see. We will see what Yoan Moncada brings to the table. I don't even know if he's healthy right now. So, who played more games last 3 seasons, Rendon or Trout? Trout did. Mike Trout, the fish man. Another interesting graphic I saw the other day, and this is a little bit unrelated, but I'm going to put it out there, that every single person, this was on Reddit, I believe it was, what current players hit the most home runs against what franchises, and Mike Trout is hit the most home runs against every single American League West team. He's the number one guy. Isn't that crazy? From Branch Terminal, he says, isn't Neto starting on the IL? Can they squeeze them both into the infield somehow? Neither one of those guys are playing shortstop. So maybe Rendon can play first, but are you going to DH Shanwell? Shanwell is going to hit 10 homers in his career, so I don't really know. Maybe they'll platoon them. Even though Yoan Moncada is a switch hitter, maybe he'll just hit against lefties. I don't know. Why not? Why not? Rengifo at shortstop. That is a tough infield, man. Maybe Moncada at third, yeah, or second, yeah. He did play second, so maybe. Maybe that's a good one. All right, our final little piece of news here on arguably one of the slowest news days in baseball every single year. MLB owners have elevated A's owner John Fisher to their executive committee, Rob Manfred said. Give me something. No! Don't do it! Don't! Now, you guys may be wondering, hey, what is the executive committee anyways, Trevor? The executive committee oversees league business, such as the sale of a franchise and economic matters, including revenue sharing between clubs. And they added John Fisher. Make it make sense. This is directly from the article that I read. So there's a group of guys that basically handle more of the day-to-day negotiation stuff when it comes to where does this go? Where does the money go here? Where does this go? How is revenue sharing where are we going to allot this money? And they chose John, my parents did everything, Fisher, to be part of that group, even though he has botched everything he's ever touched ever. The guy can't even speak he can't even like speak in front of a camera without getting afraid. I don't understand. But he is greedy. So I think that's the number one qualification. They're like, who's the greediest dude? Who will do anything to prove to his parents that he's a good businessman? Let's choose that guy. I think that's what happened. So, John, good luck, man. That's what you need. More responsibility.